Hello everybody, my name is Brady and we are back with another React video, and today we're going to be checking out more Hamilton. We are so close! We're almost there! We're gonna get there! We're gonna get to the duel! I really want to talk about the duel. Like, at this point, I just want, like, some degree of a fight scene. We've talked about so much politics, and usually the politics stuff is cool. I kind of want to, switch it up a little bit. Get into something violent and dumb like a duel, but we've got to get through these songs to get there. We've talked a good amount about the Reynolds Pamphlet throughout my videos on the musical because it naturally comes up. It says a lot about Hamilton's personality, and it's considered by a lot to be his political downfall. I personally don't see it as his political downfall alone. I think it's a mix of this and his unfortunate relationship with John Adams, which we've discussed. But honestly, I think the John Adams stuff might have done him in more than this, which is kind of crazy to think about. But, like, yeah, it's the death of his party. Hamilton had no place in the world after all that. So even if the Reynolds Pamphlet wasn't done, I feel like Hamilton's political future was at least in question. But let's talk about the pamphlet itself. Let's check out the song, and we'll talk about it a little bit. We'll give it a little chit chat. All right, let's get started.
The Reynolds Pamphlet. Have you read this? Alexander Hamilton had a torrid affair, and he wrote it down right there. Highlights.
So the Reynolds Pamphlet came after rumors were already going around about this affair, and rumors had gone around about Alexander Hamilton having affairs in the past. One example was with Angelica. That's not just a thing in the musical. That's something that they rumored about a whole bunch in the Republican press. Not just Angelica, but Peggy too. And Peggy, as the musical would, I guess, require me to say. And Peggy. Yeah, so there is a lot of this going around. So these rumors are pretty common, and it's pretty easy to shrug them off. But he felt that this was something that he could not shrug off. One could argue, and I do, that he probably hurt himself more than he helped himself with this. I think that's pretty easy to argue because really, even by putting his statement out, who's he going to persuade? There's the people who hate him already, and there are the people who like him already. By admitting to infidelity, he's more likely to turn people off that like him than turn people on to him that already dislike him. Like, he's not gonna be like, I cheated on my wife, and then the Republican press is gonna be like, you know what, he's a really honest dude. That's not gonna happen.
Charge against me is a connection with one James Reynolds. For purposes of improper speculation, my real crime is an amorous connection with his wife for a considerable time with his knowing consent.
So it's being spoken through the voice of Jefferson, which is interesting because he definitely is one of the prime suspects when it comes to people who could have, if not directly gotten the rumor out into the press, orchestrated it to get out into the press. It's hard to say where, like, the origin point is. We have Hamilton's confession, and then we have James Monroe taking the records to be copied, and then some copies exist. So, like, from there, it can be a little bit of a mess as to, like, what the first point of rumor ended up being. But having Jefferson read it out, regardless, he's like a stand-in for the Democratic Republican press kind of just awaiting Hamilton's downfall at this point. So yeah, it's I think it's appropriate. I like how it's done musically, having it be kind of like dubbed over with the Jefferson voice.
Meetings with her, most of them in my own house. At his own house? At his own house. Mrs. Hamilton with our children being absent on a visit to her father. No. Have you read this?
It's pretty bad on paper, isn't it?
Never gonna be president now. Never gonna be president now. Never gonna be
Hamilton's presidential potential. Let's talk about that, because we talked about this a little bit earlier on. There is a question that some people have had about whether or not Hamilton could qualify to be president. Because one thing that America has, we have birthright citizenship, and you have to be born in the United States to be president. Even if you go through the right channels to get your citizenship, if you were not born in the United States, you can't be president. That's just, so there's this weird place that Hamilton stands, being born in a British colony, but not the mainland colonies that would become the United States. So where does Hamilton fall? There's actually this loophole written into the Constitution where if you were in kind of the would-be United States when independence is when they got their independence, you were still okay. Like at the time that the rules are written, you kind of got that little loophole. That loophole doesn't exist anymore because nobody could live long enough to have seen the beginning of the country. But like, there were a good amount of people who may have been born in England, but came over to the colonies, and they still would have been able to be president of the United States. Hamilton could have been president of the United States on paper. Would he have? I don't know. I think he's one of those divisive figures that never would have really worked out as president. He would have found positions of power, but also he wasn't one to win elected office. That's not where he got any of his power, really. He got appointments. He got in with the people who were more electable people, like Washington. Washington got him his biggest appointments. He didn't win any sort of election to become Treasury Secretary. And that's how Hamilton's political career essentially went for pretty much most of it. He did not bank on being popular. So I don't think him being president was ever really that much of a concern. People have done like these little fantasy elections with him versus James Madison and try to say like he could have beaten James Madison. I don't think so. Hamilton isn't the wonder boy that a lot of people make him out to be. He was brilliant. Not presidential material, I honestly think. I think he's a very reliable hand in like a cabinet position. I think that was perfect for him. I just don't think he would have ever been top dog.
I came as soon as I heard.
Angelica,
All the way from
Ooh.
London. Damn!
Angelica, thank God someone who understands what I'm struggling here to do.
I'm not here for you. I know my sister like I know my own mind. You will never find anyone as trusting or as kind. I love my sister more than anything in this life. I will choose her happiness over mine every time. Put what we had aside. I'm standing at her side. You can never be satisfied. God, I hope you're satisfied.
That is musically, and can I say this? It's musically very satisfying, and it gives us a lot to talk about there. There's still kind of the wink, wink, nod, nod. Did they have like something? Was there ever anything there? There were always rumors about them having an affair. Some historians believe that it did happen. I personally don't, or at least I don't think I have enough to say that they did. I would never say 100% that they didn't, but it just doesn't seem like it was ever really practical. A lot of the time they spent together, it would have been hard for them to be like really alone. So I don't know if it was even practical, even if they want to. When would they find the opportunity? I'm sure there were some, but I don't know if I have enough to say that they ever had that. As far as the reaction of Hamilton's family and the Schuylers to what he did, it seems that a lot of them kind of backed him up. There's a lot that we don't know about what happened behind closed doors and like immediate reactions and stuff, and the musical kind of brings up that a little bit. Like, we can never really know exactly what was said and what conversations were had in this regard, and like I love that element, and that's something that draws a lot of people into history, like trying to close those little gaps of knowledge there. But it seems like, more or less, everybody kind of backed up Hamilton and were just like, these are cynical attacks on him, and they backed him against the wall. Tiller Mazzeo, and she is the biographer for Eliza Hamilton. It's like she's like the only one. And while I don't love everything about her book, and I feel like there are some logical leaps that are made, I like to bring up her thoughts on this. She has a very interesting view of the relationship between Hamilton and Eliza, and what their marriage was like, and the level of subservience that Eliza had when it came to Alexander, and how much she would just bend over backwards for the dude. She was obedient till the end, I suppose. I don't really buy into the part of her argument where she goes so far as to say that the affair just didn't happen and it was just manufactured to kind of distract from Hamilton's larger financial crimes. Do I feel like Hamilton may have done more financially unethical stuff than the conventional narrative lets on? I think it's very possible. But do I think that he completely manufactured this affair? No, I think the affair is very much in character for him. And it's not absurd to think, but there is like, I would call it like a 1% doubt in the back of my mind. Like, what if this is the craziest conspiracy ever? Like, I don't know. Like, what if there is like, he was just really, really clever? Like I said, 1% in the back of my mind saying that. I would say don't listen to that 1% until you get a little bit more, though. It's a relatively new question too, that Tiller Mazzeo is asking. Other historians are probably going to go down this rabbit hole a little bit more and start asking these questions that we didn't really care about before, but now we do, now that Hamilton is such a big subject of conversation. So who knows what will come up eventually. Historians find out new stuff all the time, so... but for now, I'm gonna lean towards like the traditional narrative kind of as a default until I have a little bit more and I'm more satisfied with the material that supports that sort of argument, if that ever does happen.
Never gonna be president now. Never gonna be president now. Never gonna be president now.
This is a sick hook. This is one of the best hooks. Oh, and just builds. I love it. Oh gosh.
You ever see somebody ruin their own life? His poor wife.
Oh, dude, he was a piece of crap. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Oh my god. That was... Like, when I think about that... And if Eliza really got to the point where she was so enamored with him and she was so trusting of him that it allowed for that level of manipulation, she would be a great little case study in how much somebody can kind of go blind to the realities in their relationship. Like, I don't know if it ever got... I'd imagine... It is so improbable that it was completely manufactured, which But could she have been convinced that it was completely manufactured? I think that's a little bit more likely. Because she was truly so devoted. Like, he could tell her something behind the scenes and say, I'm going to do this publicly, and yeah, it's going to be embarrassing or whatever. But, like, could he potentially trick her? Maybe. It feels like a stretch. It's one of those things, it feels like a stretch, but these are kind of like new questions that are gone over by the current and only major biographer of Eliza Hamilton. So it's interesting to talk about. Yeah. Hamilton never would have been president, though. I will plant that flag in the ground, and you're not moving me from that position. I feel pretty strongly about that one. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. We are going to be really getting into the end pretty darn soon. What do we got? I think we have the It's Quiet Uptown song. I don't know how much there's going to be to get out of that. Oh, the election. Yeah, we got the election, and then we've got the duel. So we get to build to those. The duel is going to be a lot of fun. I have so much that I love talking about with that, because it's something fun to kind of speculate upon and try to capture visually. There's so much fun with that. I've wanted to like visit the dueling ground, but I've never taken the time to like get down to Weehawken. But it would be really cool to check out the place where it all went down. I've always wanted to like kind of like visually try to like really get myself in that place so I can understand, because there's like conflicting stories about what happened. And I guess I'll be able to tell you which one I believe most, and you guys can tell me what you buy or not, because like still we don't know exactly how it went down because there's only like a few witnesses. But we've got some probable predictions, so yeah, predictions, is that the best word? I don't know, whatever. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you pretty soon with another video. Alright, bye.